It is time for Forza Motorsport, everyone, and this could be the best racing game ever on console. I really mean that. If it can achieve these few things I'm going to talk about in this video, I think it would be the undisputed champion of racing games, dominating Gran Turismo 7 on PlayStation, leaving the crew a need for speed in its dust. So what am I going to talk about here? Well, we're going to start with the main sort of thread of Forza Motorsport, which is this car RPG system. They want us to get really attached to the cars we're driving. There are less cars in Forza Motorsport than in its predecessor Forza Motorsport 7. That's almost certainly because they have cars ready, but they're just not going to release them at launch. They want them to be DLC. But leaving that aside, Forza expect us to drive less cars in Forza Motorsport, and they want us to become more attached to the cars we're driving. That is a throwback to the old school GT games, the classic games. Gran Turismo 4, Gran Turismo 2, Sega GT, Forza Motorsport 3, Forza Motorsport 4. Those games where you really had to drive your car for a long time. It was very expensive to get new cars, but that was of the era. And you'd basically drive your car for longer than was really acceptable, trying to really struggle in the higher classes. And that's what Forza want us to do. They want us to get attached. They want us to have meaningful tuning and upgrades to those cars. And I can see it working if it's not too grindy. So if they get the right balance here, and they're going to really try and do that through the Spotlight system, it's going to thread through both single player and multiplayer. So you'll be having these events celebrating the cars. You'll be with your communities, like in our community, we'll all be tuning the cars together and really understanding about what makes the car tick. That's something Gran Turismo has completely failed to do. I remember, for example, when they added the new Alfa Romeo 155, the touring car. No one really knows much about that car. They didn't really celebrate it with an event, but Forza's going to fix that. The other thing that is super important, by the way, super important, because I know loads of you are going to be driving in single player, but even if you're not primarily in single player, you're still going to be upgrading your cars through single player progression, is the AI. This is an area where Gran Turismo 7 are definitely going to upgrade everything through Sophie. When they really implement Sophie permanently, that's a big mark in the sand for Gran Turismo. And Forza have promised overhauled AI. They've kind of binned off the terrible Forza TAR system. And they say this AI is actually trained by AI, which sounds kind of, terrifying. They've got an AI penalty system that's designed to recognize something like over 600 unique racing incidents. Again, something that Gran Turismo 7 people think is very poor at. So it will really live and die by the quality of the AI, and that is still be seen. If it does have the best AI in a racing game, then it will lay claim to being the best racing game out there. So we will see. The other thing I want to mention is graphics. Gran Turismo is not on PC. Gran Turismo instead is a cross-gen between PS4 and PS5. While Forza is looking into the future, it's not going to be on the old gen. Yes, it will be playable on Xbox Series S, but really it should breathe on the Xbox Series X and ultimately on the PC. This should be the best looking racing game that you can play for the next couple of years. First party from Microsoft, massive budget, ray tracing. Yes, it is going to be capped at 60 FPS on PC, but I really hope it's going to usher in just a new standard of what racing games should be like. Now, the other thing I want to mention, this is a huge one, is the safety rating system they've imported from iRacing. If they can get this right, they will turn the wasteland of Forza Motorsport online multiplayer into this sort of promised place where you can have clean racing, fair racing, have that sort of emotional attachment to the races and build a community. And I'm personally very excited about that. I want to see that for the fledgling Forza Motorsport competitive racing community. And on that note, again, if Forza Motorsport wants to be the king of racing games on console, I think it needs to have its own world tour. They've done this in the past, but they need to build it from scratch, basically, because Forza Motorsport 7 online just became such a joke. But they need to celebrate the best racing drivers in the world, need to host events, bring them to a city near you so you can see the best drivers, try and qualify, give out some big prizes. I want to see that. I'll be at the events if they do that, trying to celebrate the game and the drivers. And by the way, another thing that they definitely need to sort out here is just eradicating dirty drivers through a culture. We've talked about the penalty system before, but I think a culture of Forza needs to be one where it's just not acceptable to be a dirty driver in ranked mode. The other thing I want to see from Forza is just a really solid support of private leagues, private lobbies. That often is where the real heart of the community is. I know in Gran Turismo 7, we in KCR just run so many leagues. There's about 4,000 sim racers in my Discord, by the way. Hit the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the video if you want to see more of us on Forza. You really won't regret it. But I hope Forza are going to support the private leagues and lobbies. I hope they're going to give us all the functionality that we need. You can see on screen here to actually moderate that. Gran Turismo 7 just do a terrible job, frankly. You can't even force a one make. You can't do multi-class. But you can see you can even have ghost back markers on in this private multiplayer event. That looks really cool. I'm very much excited for that. I also want to see a good balance between spec and tuning racing. Gran Turismo 7 really struggles with that. Kind of doesn't know whether to be a tuning game or an open game, or a BOP game, I should say. The BOP always seems to favourite certain manufacturers as well, like Toyota and Nissan. We'll see whether Forza can get that right. Something I've never really gone into much detail about, but from my time in playing Forza Motorsport 7, yes, there was a PI indicator system, but you'd end up having, some cars with amazing engines and no brakes against the inverse, and that'd be an absolute mess in the corners. So we'll see whether Forza can actually sort of bop that properly. Will be really interesting to see. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments, by the way. What are you expecting from Forza Motorsport? Do you think it's going to be the best racing game on console, the king? You let me know. Can't wait to hear from you. And like I said, make sure to subscribe to see more of Forza on this channel. Completely unbiased, completely honest, all for you. I'll see you then.